Hi, guys, and welcome to episode 4 of Mompreneur Mondays. Today, we are talking with Ellen from A Fashionating Life. Ellen is a phenomenal mom to two boys. She is in her 40s and she's inspiring other women in their 40s to take control of their fashion. So, if you are new to Mompreneur Mondays, every single Monday there is a new mompreneur who is featured, and we talk about life as a woman, balancing motherhood with entrepreneurship, and of course, their businesses. So sure to tune in every single Monday at 12 p.m. here on Mom Coach Wife to meet a new mom. But today we are meeting Ellen. And if you are new to the channel, make sure you subscribe to this channel. You give this video a thumbs up and you hit the bell for notifications so that you know every single time that we feature a new mom or another video is posted. So without further ado, let's get into learning about Ellen and a fascinating life.
Yeah.
Hi, Ellen. How are you today?
Hello. I'm fine. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for signing up for Mompreneur Mondays and joining me here today. First, I would just like you to go ahead and introduce yourself, tell everyone who you are, a little bit about your business, things of that nature.
Thank you. Yes, my name is Ellen Mason. I am 48 years old. I am a mother of two. And a couple of years ago, I started a fashion blog with a partner called A Fashionating Life. And it is a space for women in their 40s and older who want to feel seen and empowered by fashion in their daily lives, encouraging women of all ages to take control of their personal style and view clothing as one, not all, but one powerful tool in the story they tell the world. We always say, if you're going to go in and negotiate for that raise or that promotion, it's not your outfit that's going to get you that raise or the promotion. But if you walk in thinking that you're wearing like the perfect right power suit that makes you feel like a bad woman, it's going to show through your confidence and help you get there. And it really started because as women who are in their 40s who have loved fashion their entire lives, um, we had kind of what we call our Charlize Theron moment. And there was a big play in Hollywood, and it's still going on, about inclusion, mainly from an age standpoint. And there was a time when you saw a lot of the most famous, most world's most beautiful actresses talking about how I hit 40 and all the roles dried up and all the opportunities went away. And Charlize Theron was giving one of those interviews and she said, I began to feel invisible. And my partner Jennifer and I looked at each other and we're like, okay, well, if you feel invisible and you're one of the world's most talented, beautiful women, how are us mere mortals supposed to feel when, quite frankly, we can't see ourselves in a fashion blog? The fashion space is $1 billion plus generating industry. And once again, it is predominantly filled with women in their early 20s who want to give advice how to dress for a career. And many of them, quite frankly, if this team has never set foot in an office. Now, that's great. I mean, I'm a 48-year-old woman. I'm not negating young women. I used to be one a long time ago. Um, we don't want younger women to get to their 40s and go, okay, but wait, where am I? And yet again, as a woman who's 48, I'm being marketed to women who are much younger than I am, who don't have my life experiences. Um, and I want to see myself represented in the fashion blog space. So we're trying to put 40 plus women on the map in this $1 billion a year generating industry, because quite frankly, women in their 40s have plenty of style. We have the confidence to take those chances and pull off a lot. And usually by now, we actually have the disposable income to go out and buy said style. So we need to be marketed to by ourselves and not women who are younger. I just need to see myself. I need to take those recommendations, that peer to peer recommendation that's supposed to be the influencer space, from someone who looks like me. And that, quite frankly, isn't a 23-year-old who hasn't set foot in an office and doesn't have children. So
Right.
a fascinating life was born. We're on IG at A Fashionating Life, and we have a blog, afashionatinglife.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that introduction.
Well,
Obviously, prior to this, I got to learn about a fascinating life, and I think that it's amazing that you are giving the space to older women because time does not stop for anyone. We are all going to get there at some point, and we're going to need that space. Like I think at every stage of our lives, we need to have a space where we can feel comfortable in our own skin, in our clothing, and be confident and not feel like once we hit a certain place in our lives, like everything just ends. Like I know when I hit 40, I don't want to be like in a burlap sack. Like, I want to feel good about the clothes that I have on my back. I want to feel good about how I'm represented and still feel empowered, even though I've crossed over into the over 40 group. I think that that's so empowering what you're doing for women in general.
thank
And
you.
I love that you are here representing older moms because a lot of times when I go and I'm looking for women to speak to who are mothers, not only are they younger mothers often who respond to me, they are also mothers with younger children. And your children are into the preteen and the teen stages, correct?
Correct. I have a senior in high school who's 17, who will be graduating this June. So I'm getting ready to empty nest
Oh,
a little bit. Like I'm in
what
denial that
path?
my baby is leaving. I might not be going anywhere, depending. But yes, I also have a 10-year-old who will be 11 at the end of this month. So still in fifth grade and still like what I call in the thick of it. He's not self-propelled. You still have to be like, are you dressed? Make his lunch, like da 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 da. The 17-year-old, like I checked to see if he's breathing on Saturday at like 2. He's not in his bed, but he gets up, does his homework, does everything. But yeah, I'm still in the thick of it. And my partner also has 11. My blog partner has an 11-year-old son as well. My youngest son is dyslexic. Um, we have a lot of experience that way. We've been dealing with this for a long time. And yeah, once again, it seems like there's a lot of support systems for newborn moms and moms of toddlers, but that support system goes away once they become like school age. And if you are a working mom, you notice that all of the mom bonding activities happen Monday through Friday, 9 to 5,
Mhm.
rather than being really inclusive for moms who are working. And so once again, that's another support system that kind of goes away when you and your children get older. And there is life after toddlerhood. I promise all of the moms who are listening to this, who are like, I'm never, ever getting my life back. You will. And in 30 seconds, you'll be like me and they'll be leaving for college and you're going to be like, but I just want my 3-year-old again. Trust me.
I don't think that right now because I have a 3-year-old. I'll check back with you in like
I
10
know.
to 12 years.
Maybe five, but yeah, you want your baby back. And so,
Yeah. Well, that's
yeah.
I love that you even mentioned that a lot of the spaces are during the day a lot of the time. And that's why I wanted this to be a later in the evening type of series so that women who are working, women who have businesses, because let's just be honest, if you own a business, your hours are very similar a lot of the times to someone who is working. So I wanted it to be something where anybody, regardless of what your lifestyle is, you could tune in and actually learn from each of the entrepreneurs that join us. So one of the things that you mentioned that I'm sure a lot of the listeners or viewers are going to really want to know more about is you mentioned that your son is dyslexic. So what are some of the struggles that you as a mom have had to face with operating a business and helping him to navigate? Because I know with dyslexia, they can read things kind of like in reverse. B's can look like D's, things like that. And it's probably much deeper than that because I personally don't have any experience. That's just like the little bit of knowledge I have on it. So share with us your experience a little bit and how you've navigated.
That's one thing. Yeah, I was very eye-opening to me. It's almost like dyslexia is an umbrella and many different forms of it fall under that, but reversing letters is the most common one that people tend to know. A few things. I think this was also a lesson for us, getting ahead of myself, but it was just a lesson for us in really realizing what smart is.
Mhm.
Finn is his name. He's incredibly intelligent and bright, and we were so excited. And he was so excited for him to go to school because he's naturally smart in so many areas. But when they sat him down to do numbers and letters, it all fell apart. Um, it was very apparent within 3 months of him starting kindergarten that there was a serious problem there. And we're very lucky. We are in a very good school district. I got through this because I have a fantastic school, elementary school, that really identified it and worked with us and helped. But the biggest challenge for us, because I know he's smart and I know he's going to read, and I know, like, Einstein didn't know how to spell to save his life. That's what, spell check is for. Like, as far as being a dyslexic adult in a working world in the future, I think it is only going to get better and more supportive, especially since he does seem to be very engineer and scientifically inclined. And I've watched a lot of things where it was even a Neil deGrasse Tyson did a speech where it's his field is very full of people who are atypical learners, and they don't have a problem with dealing with that or giving this support system. But you tell that to a 5-year-old who sees all of his friends reading books and doing well and getting the stars and everything. So the biggest challenge for us was, I gave birth to a happy child,
Right.
a naturally happy, up one of those kids. I'm not, I'm happy, I'm not depressed or anything, but I go through my things. Just to have someone who is naturally sees the best in every situation, is just constantly happy. It became about protecting that for me and not letting his challenges with reading and spelling and identifying his numbers take away his happiness and his confidence. And so it became a very big group effort. We got him into some after school programs. And once again, the school was just very, very, very prepared to deal with it. Keeping his confidence up, just telling him that, even with having an older brother, Gabriel, my oldest son, was telling Finn, like, I can't pass math to save my life, but I love to read. Like, I tell them that to Finn all the time too. Mommy passed college math because a professor went, oh, okay, you want to be an English teacher? And you've tried and you've been here and you're crying, and I'm just going to let you pass because this is the one math credit you need. And some people are just not math inclined. And so we even got him to be like, I may have problems with reading, but I am better at math than even mommy.
Yeah.
It was just telling him that, people have challenges. Everybody struggles. Everybody has a challenge. Yours are appearing younger and maybe a little more apparent than other people, but nobody out there is struggle or challenge free. And it's how you get over those hurdles that really matters. And there's a book for anybody who's struggling called Fish in a Tree. It's a chapter book that he read with his dyslexia class at school. But the purpose, like the title, Fish in a Tree, if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, you're going to think it's stupid. But a fish is not stupid. And that's really what we try to tell Finn all the time, is this is not a reflection of you. You are not dumb. You are fully capable. I still think you're going to build like the first office building on Mars, because that's just kind of the brain he has. The blueprints might be spelled wrong, but I really don't care because you're a really, really, really smart child, And yes, it's very hard as mothers, because if you are working or you're not working, like, it doesn't matter. Your child is your life. You can't go do anything knowing that your child is struggling. And it's really important for moms out there to realize that this is very challenging for them. And you just need to be able to go somewhere and make sure you have a support system to talk, go online. There's lots of support systems out there for parents of dyslexic children that don't cost money if you can't afford any kind of programs, or I'm affluent, I'm in an affluent school. We have dyslexia programs and all kinds of things. Find those free resources out there. Find help groups on social media and Facebook. There's a lot of places that you could go to for support and just even vent and get your feelings out, so you can be there to help your child the best of your ability, because it's very taxing on moms. You feel that as much as your children do.
Oh yeah. I can only imagine. And just to kind of piggyback on that last thing that you said, is to go out there and find support groups, regardless of what it is that you're going through. One of the biggest things is to open your mouth or start typing and tell somebody what it is that you're going through. You'd be surprised how many other people have either experienced it or are going through it as well, or have access to the resources that you actually need. You never know until you actually speak out. So I think that was one of, to me, the most impactful things that you just said there is for people to go out there and find the help that they need, because we can't really do this on our own, regardless of what you or your children may be facing. It's good to
Yeah.
have that village, that group of people that's going to help you
And
to.
even if you feel like you are going to be the first human being to complain about this or ask for help on social media, I guarantee you are not alone. And you might be the person who inspires the other women who are struggling with that, to see you're being brave enough to admit you need help, to give them the courage to come forward as well. Sometimes it just takes one. A lot of people are afraid if they feel that they're the first one or putting that out there. But you may actually be that pillar of strength that inspires other women to seek their help too, because they see you putting it out there.
Exactly. Go ahead and empower somebody. So, a little bit more about you personally. Tell us a little bit about your family currently. We know you have two children. Do you have any pets?
Yes. Yes, I am married to my husband Steve now for about 11 years. Second marriage, blended family. So my first son is from my first marriage. My ex-husband and I get along very well. He lives in the same city. He's remarried. They have twins. We go to each other's birthday parties. It's really
Parenting.
great. Yeah. I mean, people meet us who don't know that Gabriel is not Steve's son, my current husband's son, and they really they don't even realize if they come over and they're like, Wade's Gabriel. And I'll be like, oh, he's at his dad's this weekend. What? Like they have no idea. Um, so we're a very big, blended, modern family. I have the greatest dog in the world, of course. She's the sweetest, most wonderful thing in the world. Her name is Mrs. Maisel. So yes, love that show. But we call her Maisie. The blog is my side hustle, really. I have a 20 plus year career in all forms of communications. I am lucky enough to have graduated before the internet and email was a thing. So learning PR and communications back in, before the millennia, AKA the dark ages. I graduated college in the 90s. It's my career has evolved simply because the method of communication has evolved, and the majority of my career has been in music and arts nonprofits. When I hit early on in my 40s, after having done that career for a good 20 years, I decided that I wanted to do something new. I just felt like I needed a change. And, being a nonprofit gal, my husband works in technology, and, you don't get rich off of nonprofit. It's a passion project. You don't do it for the benefits. You don't do it. My husband works in technology. His office had free kombucha and yoga classes and masseuses. And I'm buying my own scissors to take into the office. So, a little part of me said, maybe I could, I can take my career and I can go over to the corporate world and I can make more money, and it will be great. And will be the newness that I needed. And long story short, corporate America and I don't get along. Doesn't matter how much I'm making. It doesn't matter about kombucha and yoga classes. I cannot have a job that I don't feel passionate about. And I don't feel passionate about a lot of the technology software for, XYZ business that's out there. And so I am re-entering a creative field at the present moment in time. I have since started, because of all this, I'm going through just basically a rebirth at 48. And I feel like that's a very important message. You're not too old to start again. I mean, I'm 48 and I'm still at this point in time, I'm trying to figure out what I want to be when I grow up. And I felt like I knew that for a good 20 years. And I think the great thing about going through this now is in my 20s, when I was going through oh, I don't know what I'm going to do. And my whole life is ahead of me. I've gotten this far and I'm checking off boxes that society says makes me successful. I may not know exactly what I want to do for the rest of my life at this point, but I have the confidence that I'll be fine. I'm still working and making money, working job, with the corporate jobs, that not necessarily where my heart is, but you do have bills, so you have to do things. But I am in the process of transitioning for my day job over to a company called the Edit Advisory, and it's really leaning into my passions. I never thought I would start. I wanted to start a blog for forever. I never thought I would. And I finally did it with the help of a partner. And it's been nothing but successful. And people like telling me, why didn't you do this sooner? I went through a whole thing. I'm highly introverted. So putting myself out there is not my most comfortable thing, which is why I grabbed a partner, because Jennifer's the extrovert to my introvert. She was like, I don't really understand the business of blogging. I'm like, I don't need you to. I just need you to push me in front of the camera. And it's funny because she was my old boss at my last nonprofit job. She was my executive director. I was her communications manager and director. So we had a history of like me telling her where to go and what to say, and being women who bonded of similar ages and having similar children ages. That kind of became, well, what are you wearing too? I mean, similar styles, but even if we own the same thing, we styled it differently. So that's when I said, I need you to do this fashion blog with me. And, we no longer work together. But so leaning into this influencer thing while I'm figuring out what I want to do with my life. Again, I have found a day job that I'm going to be transitioning to very soon, that I'm happy about it. Like I said, it's called the Edit Advisory. And they are a fashion trend analysis company. We work with companies like Victoria's Secret to help them take their runways and interpret that for their market. And we're not the people that there's these industries out there where like Dior goes and says, what do you think the trends are going to be in 2030? That's not us. We take what's coming from the runway and we help put it to whatever market is needed now. And so one of the interesting things that I'm launching, bringing my influencer space to, is we're going to be doing the first ever trend analysis subscription service specifically for influencers and other content creators. Vogue magazine, Old Navy, Victoria's Secret, all of them, they spend hundreds and thousands of dollars to work with trend analysis companies to help them figure out what their offerings are going to be. The biggest growing segment in fashion marketing is the influencer space, and they're being asked to act like Vogues and big fashion houses, but they don't have the tools out there, and the average influencer cannot afford the reports as is. But they don't need fabric sciences, and they don't need a lot of the stuff that goes into the reports. What they do need is somebody to tell them, okay, here's what the trends are going to be. Every single influencer right now is still in winter. They're posting winter clothes, winter fashions. The fashion industry has already gone through spring and summer. They're gearing up for fall 21. We want to help give that kind of information to the influencers so they can get ahead of the fashion curve and create more compelling content and have true trend setting information and operate like a big, fashion industry insider in a way that's affordable and meaningful for them. And so that will be launching soon. So all of this is just to say, don't really worry if you don't have it all figured out. Find that one thing that really excites you and lean into it. And if I hadn't have leaned into this influencer space, I wouldn't be about to embark on a career that really, really excites me when I'm pushing 50. Like, I'm sorry, I'm tired. I need this to get through to retirement. I really do. I need some fresh wind under my sails. And so rather than panicking, and once again, this comes from a place of privilege. I have a husband, he makes a good living. I mean, we're not going to be out on the street if I'm not creaming. So I understand that I'm coming from a different place than a lot of women out there, but I have been a single mom who was living, very tightly, needing that job. So I get it, but it's okay. Find that one little bit of passion and lean into it as much as you can, and be open to where the universe is going to take you. And don't think you're too old, and don't think you're too late, because it's not. I'm excited about this. And this is exactly what I needed to give me that energy to get me through to retirement because women in their 40s, I mean, I know we all are, but like women in their 40s, we're exhausted. We're exhausted. I mean, I'm lucky enough that I'm one of the few people in my age group that isn't also taking care of elderly parents. Thank goodness my parents are still able to be independent. If I had them, as well as 2 children, a career, a blog, you know, a new business I'm trying to launch, I it's, we've got a lot. So you have to find that passion, and hopefully you can turn it into something that, you know, it pays you well. There's a lot of women out there who are doing coaching services too that I found online that really, you know, have helped me put together a career plan for my life. And yeah, I just kind of leaned into it and relaxed rather than being that usual type A person who thinks they're a failure because I don't have every single minute of my life planned out like I used to when I was younger. So it's the best thing about age is you've kind of been through a lot of stuff and you know you have the confidence to get through it again. I've
Awesome.
been through I've been through a divorce. I've had deaths close to me. I've been fired from jobs I love. I've had bad things happen and I'm still here and I'm still standing and I'm still relatively happy. You know, it's going to
Yeah.
be
And it's
okay.
great that through all of that, you've been able to rediscover yourself, find some things that you're passionate about, and go to work on them. And it sounds like fashion is definitely something that you are extremely passionate about.
It
But
really is.
before I go into that, I just want to clarify. Now, you said a lot about you being an influencer. Is you being an influencer, is that under a Fashionating Life or the Edit Advisory?
My influencer career is a fascinating life, and that was my side hustle when I was, you know, in working, you know, with my corporate jobs and stuff. It is through a fascinating life that I met the Edit Advisory and
Oh,
sat down and loved what they had to do, and sat down with the owner and said, "How can we work together?" And we figured it out. We hammered out a plan. We came up with this new product for the influencer space. Um, the owner, Crystal, she was the vice president for Victoria's Secret product development for many, many years. She has the ability, that's her expertise, is the trend analysis and taking an idea and bringing it through to, if you're an influencer or a emerging designer who wants to grow your brand, or you want to start a line or a capsule collection or produce a t-shirt, we can help you do that affordably and sustainably. That's where her skill set lies. What she needed was somebody who does the communications piece to really kind of take that message and supersize it to more businesses and see how we can, you know, change with the times. With the pandemic, everybody's running lean. The first thing to go for a lot of designers and fashion houses, no matter what size, was their trend, like their product development people. They just could not afford to keep them around full time. And so that was one of the first departments to get cut. So we are helping the designers and other brands out there who may not have that. So you can still have that valuable information. You need this piece, but with the Edit Advisory, we, you know, work together with you on what you need, and we'll provide a customized report for a lot cheaper than having 5 or 6 in-house staff doing it for you, to help keep the industry going.
that's actually a
So
really creative way to create a solution to the impact that COVID had on influencers and on the brand development side of things. So I think that that's awesome.
yeah,
You guys came up with a
so yeah, my a Fashionating Life influencer side hustle ended up leading me to what's becoming my new day job. I'm so yeah, and I'm going to be doing it starting over real full time now that 2021. You know, I've wrapped up with my corporate career and I'm ready to jump headfirst into the Edit Advisory as my day job while still keeping a Fashionating Life, my passion project side hustle, going. And the two of them actually feed into each other because I don't consider myself a trendy person, but I like to know what the trends are. I like to see what's coming out so I can pick and choose what I want to pull into my personal style. And when you're trying to come up with content as an influencer, it's like, I don't have time to go to Vogue and watch all the runway shows and read all the reports and synthesize all that, then come up with my content, then find the things I want to link to, then come up with the hashtag strategy. That is a lot of work. The average influencer researches trends probably a good, according to our focus group, about 22 hours a week. We want to give all of that in one location that you get monthly, where you sign in. And it's a subscription service, which seems to be the way of everything's going. I love a good subscription service. I've got like, yeah. If it's in a subscription service, I will probably sign up for it, even if I don't need it. But yeah, they don't have the time. A lot of these girls are also have like this is a side hustle too. They want it to be a full-time thing. And it just goes back to a bigger thing on I mean, yeah, I could talk about fashion all day long, but when a lot of the influencers out there on Like to Know It, and they're pushing the trends that those shopping apps tell them are the trends. The trends they're telling them are the trends are based on previous buying patterns of the past 30, 60, 90 days, plus whatever brand or retail store wants to give them the most money. That's not true trending. That's you think you're setting trends, but you're actually following them. So we want to make it so influencers become true trendsetters, because they have the access to the information at the same time as real fashion insiders who are relying on Instagrammers to be the most affordable way for them to advertise without giving them the tools they need to truly be a trendsetter.
So I want to dive into a Fashionating Life really quick. Now, you started this blog 3 years ago.
Correct.
Right there? Okay. So 3 years ago, what was, and I apologize for that background, but 3 years ago, what was the like motivating factor for you to actually go ahead and jump into your passion and say, hey, I'm going to start this blog? Because I know you mentioned earlier that you wanted to start this blog for a long time and you didn't do it for reasons that I'm sure you're about to get into. But then at some point 3 years ago, you said, you know what, it's time. You and your partner just dove in. What caused that?
I jokingly say it was my midlife crisis. And I look at my husband and I'm like, and we're just all gonna be happy that Ellen decided to start a fashion blog and not buy a sports car we can't afford or go out and have an affair. And that's really what it was. And it was like my ex-boss / blog partner / like my Grey's Anatomy person. If I killed someone, she's the one that I would call to help me hide the body, kind of thing. Like, she knew I'd been talking about this for forever. And it was like when I turned 42, I'm like, I know I could do one for the 40 something women. Like, I knew I wanted to start a fashion blog, but I didn't have, like, that's part of it was I don't really do this thing and have to put myself out there. I mean, as a side note, I launched the fashion blog and did not promote it to my friends and family or on my personal pages for over a year. I could not tell anyone. Like, I wanted to grow this thing and make it go big, but I didn't want anybody to know that knows me to know I did it. Which is I mean, it was fear of judging. Like, they're going to look at me and be like, oh, who is she? Like, she has no fashion. What does she think she can tell anybody? And like, I'm not trying to put myself up, but like, I had to have that conversation. You get complimented a lot on what you wear from friends and strangers who stop you on the street and want to know where you got that. So you have the day-to-day evidence that nobody's going to think that, but even if they do, like, honestly, you are too old to care. And then it was like time, and I don't know, and if it wasn't for Jennifer, who was like, okay, now that you landed on this 40, that, and then, so yeah, being the professional that I am, I just I wanted to start a fashion blog, but like, I didn't know what my niche was, what my elevator pitch was, what my, target demographic was. Like, I let all of the details kind of talk me out of it. And then I figured out a great niche would be the 40 plus angle, because we weren't being represented. And I talked about that for a few years. And I remember Jennifer literally looked at me and said, all right, girl, I've been hearing you talk about this for years, and you just turned 45. So you either need to launch this thing before you have to rebrand again, meaning I turned 50, or you just need to stop talking about it. And that's when I looked at her and I said, well, I'll do it, but I need you to come with me. And she was like, I don't understand the business of blogging. I'm like, nope, but you just social media, every like thing you eat, every place you go, that was part of who she was. I mean, I can do it. I absolutely can do it. I've gone on live television. I've testified at the Texas Capitol in support of arts funding. I absolutely can do it, but it's not my comfort zone. I'm the pay no attention to the woman behind the curtain person. And it was also easier too, because that wasn't necessarily me that was up there. That was like PR Ellen. And if you talk about it being a fear of judgment, like I would never want to be representing a company on live television and tank that for nerves because people would think I'm bad at my job. So yes, that fear of what other people would think made it possible for me to, this is just PR Ellen, not me. And I'm going to go out there and do my job excellently because that's how I am, rather than it being me putting myself out there. But with the Fascinating Life, it's me. I'm the product. I'm it. I have to talk about me. I have to be me. I have to promote me. And I really just needed the friend to just help me get started. It's really, and that's what it is. Like, I know a lot of women out there probably have like one really close friend or a sister. I mean, if you need to be a pair, be a pair. Absolutely. If there's ways to make it work. But it really honestly was just talking about it for a long time and needing a change in my life, and tough love from Jennifer and my husband too, going, do it already. Like, either do it or stop talking about it. And that's honestly all of that. I mean, I really wish I had this big epiphany moment that was like, yes, now I could do it. But I literally
Like
held on to my best friend's hand and my husband, and our fans on IG for the first like year. Our biggest fans was my 17-year-old and all his little female friends. Like, if I put up a post, I could see like all of them were liking it. And that was another thing. Like, we started it 3 years ago, but I would say we didn't get serious about it for a good year and a half. And we're two women that, because of our careers, were like, if we're not going to launch it and it be perfect and have it, we're not going to do it. And we decided we had to take the exact opposite road with this. And that was like, after the first year, we're like, we have 12 followers. Who cares if we make a mistake? Let's put it out there. Nobody's watching anyway. Like, so yeah, I mean, and the first 9 months to a year was really like figuring out how to just fit it in time-wise. So it was very good to not have the eyeballs on us, because we would go dark for months and weeks because we just didn't know like how the photographer and how it was going to work and everything. So we had a good year to like make mistakes where nobody was watching and really kind of try out messages and see what was resonating. And then once we figured that and got the photographer and the schedule and the editorial calendar, I mean, and you're talking about two non-digital natives, like, we had to learn how to Insta story. Like, we didn't even know how to do that when we first started. We know enough HTML to be dangerous. Like, if you show us once, we can do it, but we're not in tune to all that. So that, like, some of it was like, I mean, we got accepted to Like to Know It, and we didn't launch it for 2 months because we couldn't like figure out how to work it. So we've had a lot of challenges. I have relied on myself. I've called my son's friends and been like, okay, how do I do this? Like, what's this? My son like call himself our social media coordinator.
Hey, got a title.
So yeah, we gave ourselves the grace to make mistakes, and we just had to let go and say, nobody's watching. It's okay. It'll be fine. And then once we hit and really got serious, I want to say, well, at the beginning of 2020, we had about 700 followers. When we ended 2020, this past December, during a pandemic, we ended the year with over 3,000. So that's during a pandemic. So I think that taking a good year of just letting this be what it is and not holding ourselves accountable to the fact that we don't have a perfect plan and we make mistakes and we don't post for a week because we're just figuring it all out. Like, we figured it out, and now we've found that formula, and now it seems to be working because the dream is happening. I have a box on my doorstep that I don't even know what's coming, and it's free beauty products. And it's like, that's too, we also define success in ways that were realistic and measurable and would grow. Like, yeah, we wanted X amount of followers, but we also decided that if we got into this and all we did was get some free product every once in a while, it would be fun. We just really wanted to do it to give women in their 40s a place to see themselves, to maybe inspire other women in their 40s to take those chances and put themselves out there and not think they're too old. I think it's funny, when we were thinking about launching the blog and we sat down with a colleague of ours here who does work in the PR space, who is a mom who is our age, who we thought was our market and was going to get it. She told us she thought that the influencer space was for a young girl's game, and weren't we a little too long in the tooth to even try? And if I hadn't had like worked with my husband and had Jennifer there, like that was my biggest fear come true to my face. Somebody telling me I had a bad idea and they didn't understand it and they didn't think it was work. And I didn't cry. I didn't think I was a failure. I didn't quit. It actually kind of made me a little angry. And I just found this like, no, I'm really going to do this. And I wasn't mad at her, because I felt like, has society really beaten you down to where you don't? I mean, she's gorgeous and fashion. Like, I would raid her closet tomorrow and I'm like, I could see you being an influencer. Like, you could, it was just, so yeah, I was faced with one of my biggest fears, and it didn't ruin me. In fact, it actually gave me more energy to continue on what I was doing, and
Yeah.
just the bravery to go out there.
And a lot of times when you hear that someone else doesn't necessarily support it, it's just that thing of, like, that fire under you to say, no, I know this is a good idea. I know this is going to be great. And maybe you don't get it, but there's someone else out there who's thinking the same way I am. I mean, I'm not 40 yet, but I can only imagine that there's a ton of women out there that feel underrepresented, just as you and your partner did when you guys started this. So for someone that was also in your age group but didn't realize that, like you said, it's partly due to the fact that you guys aren't represented. Because this, let's say you guys make that impact that you want, in 5 years from now there are women in their 40s who are feeling represented, they're feeling empowered, and we change that, then you're going to have less and less women who are thinking in that way. Oh, that's for young women. Like, there's no age group to influencing. Like, there's always going to be someone that needs that inspiration and that empowerment. So I think that it's phenomenal, first, again, that you guys did that. And then also your story, it's not like, don't minimize it, because earlier you said like that it wasn't some kind of epiphany, but honestly, sometimes we just need that extra push. I'm not someone that gets behind the camera often. If you go back and look at like anything that I've done before, like every once in a while I might pop up on camera. I started YouTube in 2020 and I did it till like September, then I stopped for a while because I was comfortable like getting away from the camera. But this, even meeting with you and other moms, was like that extra push for me to get behind the camera too. So sometimes you need someone else there to really push you to do the things that you already know is kind of your calling and what you need to go do. So it doesn't need to be something major. What happened, and it is so real. So
and I'm still a work in progress. Like, I haven't figured it all out. Like, you are helping me tackle some of the last remaining fears I have as far as putting myself out there. I'm afraid of video. Just afraid. I'm intimidated. I love to thrift. I love to go to thrift stores and find Manolo Blahniks for $4.99 and be like, ha, 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 we are sustainable fashion bloggers. I would say 80 to 85% of our closet comes from the secondary market, whether that's designer consignment or eBay or vintage or going to Goodwill and finding cute things, designer or not, and figuring out a way to make it work. And nothing makes me happier, I mean, in my regular life, is to have somebody go, I love your outfit. And I'm one of those women who'll be like, thanks, Goodwill, $5.99, And I have the income to not go to Goodwill and spend $5.99, but it's a sustainable thing for me. It's better for the environment. I would love to be a YouTuber. I watch nothing but like fashion and women's empowerment and thrifting YouTube videos. But that is so, I could panic when I think about being in a store with my phone talking into it where there's people who might be watching me and judging me. Like it's way too, I'm starting with podcasts. I'm hoping that this will help me. I did put it out on my Instagram that I am getting over my fear of video, and I want to start. I haven't done a reel yet, not done one reel. I don't do
just recorded my first one, so don't feel bad. I'm a millennial and I've never done a reel. I'm not on TikTok. I just learned from another mom about like how TikTok is supposedly like helpful for business. I'm still like terrified to get on it. So don't feel bad. Like,
yeah, that's the good thing about having the older demographic. Like the people we want to reach aren't on TikTok. Like I'm still saying I'm too old for TikTok. Like I mean, let's be realistic. Like when I tell, and that's the thing is like a lot of the things that I'm doing with my blog are things that when I'm being paid by an international multi-million-dollar corporation to put together their communications plan, I'm taking all of that and I put it towards my blog. That's one of the biggest pieces of advice I do give to younger women. I'm like, treat it like a business. Find if that's what, Pepsi Cola does. Pepsi Cola knows who their demographic is, where they are. They know their competitors. Have you ever like done a Google search for a Pepsi Cola product and then you go to other places and you start to get inundated with competitors' things? Like, I don't care if you're a 26-year-old blogger from the Midwest who has 10 followers. You need to know what your mission is, what your goals are, who your target demographic is. Like women ask me, they're like, should I be on Pinterest? My answer is always, I don't know. Is your dream customer on Pinterest?
right.
So I feel very confident telling people, no, I'm not doing TikTok. Why? Because I have an older demographic and the numbers are just proving that they're not there. That's why we do have a decent amount of Facebook presence, is because that's where my target market is. They haven't really gone to TikTok yet. So you really need to treat your side hustle like a multi-million-dollar corporation. And yeah, people have told me, oh, you're getting too detailed and you don't need to know all that before you launch. And I'm like, I'm treating this like a multi-million-dollar corporation. And if I start now, I feel like that's what gives me the best chance of turning it. Like, it goes back to dress for the job you want, not for the job you have. Treat your company like it's the size you want, not like that it is right now. So yeah.
And it's very important to know like who you're going after and where to find them.
Yeah.
And that was even something that I personally had to learn. Like I didn't know that I wanted to help specifically moms at first. And then I had to realize like what my calling was, where my strong suits were, and who it was that I wanted to be an impact to. So it's really important that in those beginning stages that you figure it out with who it is that you want and where it is that they spend most of their time. I found for me it was Instagram.
Yeah.
Where I find most of the moms that I've connected with between Instagram and Facebook. I don't use Twitter. I have an account, but I'm like, I basically tweet things that I've already posted on Facebook.
Yeah, I know. I have a Twitter program because I can press a button that says, would you like this to automatically be posted on Twitter? Yes. And that's it.
Yeah, this is very, very important to know where your audience is and who they are before you start just creating content, because you could be creating content that's not really for your audience, that's not going to help any. But but also in the same breath, I agree with what you said earlier, and just getting messages out there and getting started and make some mistakes so that you can learn from them. Everything that you're going to find out online is like blanketed statements, and then you don't really learn how that works in your particular business until you start trying it. So try some things out and figure out where your audience is, who they are, and what they want to get from you.
That's the great thing about social media is if it's you, like you have the ability to put it out there and explain exactly why. Like we're on Like to Know It, but we did a post about like we authentically don't care about the Nordstrom sale. It's just not something that we do. So I know that we're influencers and we should be inundating you with #end-sale stuff, but it's not authentic to my life. So I'm not going to do it because, a specific shopping app wants me to do it.
Right.
And I think it's easier for me to do that for multiple reasons. A, not depending on this for my survival, but B, I'm also older and I have the ability to be like, okay, yeah, no, I know who I am and I'm not. I think that was a mistake that we made when we first launched the blog. I launched the blog and then immediately went into let's make revenue mode. And it became a chore. We weren't posting. It was hard to come up with content. And we had to have come to like, sit down and really kind of go to the drawing board kind of thing. And we decided that our mantra was going to be lean into the mission and the revenue will come if it's supposed to. Mm-hmm. And we just felt so strongly about that 40 plus message. And that's what makes us different. And that's what makes us unique. And that's our hook that we just decided, let's just concentrate on building the community. And if we do it right, the revenue will come. And we weren't posting on Like to Know It. And we started to have members of our community say, I'd really like you to start linking more outfits. Where I was feeling another thing I have to work on too is I started to feel bad, like, oh, well, we built this community and now we're going to ask them for money. And they're going to like, how many women like cut themselves off before you even start? Like we had this goal of getting accepted to Like to Know It as being like this big, like, oh, we're made it now. And we got Like to Know It and we celebrated for 30 seconds. And then it became the absolute worst thing we ever did because our market is going to get so mad at us because we haven't really pushed any product on them now. And now we're going to start trying to sell them things and they're going to feel betrayed and they're all going to leave. And Like to Know It honestly became the absolute worst decision we made in the blog before we'd even actually figured out how to use it. And I think a lot of women do that. It's like great. And it's this fantastic thing until you get it. And then it obviously, some of it's like, maybe it kind of couldn't have been that hard or that great because they accepted me. And you talk yourself out of things before you even try. And again, the great thing about having this influencer space is that actually became a blog post. Like, this is what I'm wrestling with. And it's one of our most successful blog posts today. And we did. The women who had been saying, please link to that. Where did you get that? A lot of the comments were, we've been waiting for you to link. Like, we want to know where you get this stuff. And so I was like, oh, this isn't going to be the worst thing I've ever, like, it was the worst, Like to Know It became the worst business decision ever before I'd even posted. And I want like women out there, I'm sure a lot of women, you know what I'm talking about. How many times have you stopped yourself because it failed before you even tried?
Yeah. And sometimes it's really hard when, like for you, I know you started it out with just kind of showing everyone different styles and kind of getting your message out there. And then it was like, now I might be asking for money. And I find that to be something that women do struggle with, even including myself, and asking for the value of which we really deserve. Like you, I have a very supportive husband who he's always like letting me know that I'm not asking for enough. Like, you could
my husband's like, that doesn't even like register. He's like, wait, what? You have a problem asking for what you want?
Huh. Right. That's dumb. Like, why would you have such a problem with it? Oh. It is really difficult because, in one aspect, you have your community and your community is there for support and to uplift. And in another aspect, it is a business. And so there are aspects of it that are financial. And one thing that I feel we really need to break apart is like that fear of just putting the business side out there. Like, it is a business. There, like, in order for me to create this community and uphold this community, there has to be some kind of financial input into it at some point. So, and really, a lot of the times we get so surprised at what people will actually spend their money on. You don't know what people are doing with their money, and a lot of times, like I found for myself, I'm thinking like, oh, no one would spend X amount of dollars on this, and I'm like, but I would. So if I would, somebody else probably would too. In the first place. So
I'm giving influencers, like a lot of the influencers that I'm friends with, like I go to their Like to Know It, like I like what they're wearing. It's like I understand that they're in a business. I don't have a problem with influencers. I love who all of us, put up a Like to Know It post. I'm like, great, I really like that skirt. Let me go click and see if I can, get it. And someone else said too, especially like with Like to Know It, you're not asking people for money. They're shopping anyway. They're probably they need a dress anyway. And it's like, you're just making this suggestion and they have the ultimate decision. I'm not asking them to write me a check. They're not going to see that I made $1.20 off of that one dress. It doesn't change the price. But once the money thing and the ask thing got involved, it really brought up some panic and I froze. And yeah, I think, you hear women, we don't negotiate for raises like we should, et cetera, et cetera. And it's something that I still work on too.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It is definitely difficult. And I know, speaking of difficult things, one of the things that was really difficult for me was finding that balance between being an entrepreneur, going out there and going after my dreams, and also raising a daughter and starting my family. So for you, you already had your kids before you started a fashionating life, and they're older now, but just tell me a little bit about what it was like to start balancing all of the different roles in your life, not just motherhood, but being a wife, being a friend, having a job, all these different things. We're, as women, we've got so many different roles that we're juggling. And then we want to be great as entrepreneurs or start a new hobby. How'd you do it?
I look back and I'm like, I don't know. We honestly, we just started doing it. And Jennifer, my partner, is a single mom. So she has a little different of a role than I did, but we went back to the fact that we're both type A. We're really good planners. We have our, we're really good at organizing and planning things. And so that's what it became, like just another thing to add to the pile that I have to schedule. So we operate like we're not the bloggers that take pictures of their outfits the same day and post it up there. We don't have the time. We have to plan and we have to go, okay, this is what our content's going to be for the next 6 weeks. Meet with the photographer, write all this stuff, get it ready, and then schedule it to go live. So we have then that 6-week cushion to then shoot and figure out like the next. We really just had to look back on, okay, well, Jennifer is a former chief of staff for a Texas senator. Like she has a background in a Capitol. If you can manage your life while you're in a legislative session as a mom, like adding, and as my husband loves to oversimplify things, he's like, well, you're getting dressed anyway. All you have to really do is take pictures of it, right? And I'm like,
more than that.
Arguably, like, but I loved he's got that nothing's a problem attitude. And so I just, okay, I'm going to borrow that. But it really became leaning into our strengths. Moms tend to be very organized. We schedule things. We have our book. We know like when the homework is due, when they have to be dressed for Spirit Day, when the science fair is, like the doctor's appointments. It just really became for us, the key to making it all work was planning in advance. And we're both really, really good at that. So that's really how we made it work. And a lot of trial and error and a lot of forgiving ourselves for when it didn't work. And yeah, we just really just decided that we were just going to have to pick a day and start. I mean, it was like some random March, like 3 years ago, that was our first post, that was our first IG. And we just went, all right, well, let's just see what works. And once again, we had no followers for that first year. So it was absolutely great. But yeah, we just played to our strengths as moms and being able to juggle a whole bunch of balls. I mean, it's like, I have a friend that she's like, was having her 5th kid. And she's like, oh, at this point, I just throw them on the pile. It's not like I even notice I've got another one. And so we're like, I'm like, all right, what's one more career? I'm already scheduled to the hilt. I can find a free Saturday somewhere 2 months from now to take out outfit photos. And we really just decided to kind of have that, like, we embraced our type A side, but also like adopted a little bit of that's going to be okay. Let's just jump and build our wings on the way down. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And I think this has also been a really great lesson in defining success for yourself. you know, I have certain people in my life. Okay, he doesn't listen to podcasts. So my father in particular is like one of those men who's like, or people, it's like, if it's not going to make me $10 million a year, then it's absolutely never going to be a success to him. Um, and we get emails or DMs from women who are like, I'm a 52-year-old woman who bought my first pair of over-the-knee boots today, and I would not have done that if I hadn't have seen you wearing them and telling me that there is no age limit. And I'm like, you know what, Dad? Forget you. This is how I define success. I have learned that, like, for the corporate versus the nonprofit job, money, I mean, it would be great. I'm not going to scoff at it, but that's not actually what I'm in it for. That's not where my reward structure lies. It has to be something that's passionate for me. So it really gives you the opportunity to define a lot of things in your life that are very important as women, what your boundaries are, what your success looks like, who you are, how you want to represent yourself. When people say, but you're a mom, how do you do all this? Well, it's because I'm a mom that I want to do this. I have 2 sons and I want them to see a woman. I mean, I don't have to work. I don't have to work. I used to feel guilt because I was essentially choosing to be away from my children instead of being there for them all day, every day. But this is the example I want to give to my children, especially as sons, that I am a woman that made money, that I am a woman who had a husband who didn't have a hard time starting the laundry, who didn't think that it was women's work, that we have a very fair and equitable distribution of labor. I mean, I do the mental load, but hey, we all have our, you just can't expect that from men. They're just not that multitasking oriented, sorry. But that's the example. I'm doing this because of my sons. I want them to see a woman who, like, I mean, I don't say this to them, but like, I don't need a man. I can be independent. I can be Ellen. I can have a house. I could whatever. I'm in this partnership because it brings like this family. It's like, it's giving me something. And I want my boys to know that when they go out and take spouses. That's the example I want to set for my children.
Yeah. I
Is
mean,
that,
and representation is so important. Whether you're raising boys or girls, they're going to see it in 2 different ways. For you, like you said, they're going to be looking at mom and using you as that representation for what they're going to have in a spouse, and they're going to be looking at dad and saying, okay, this is who I would be as a man. And then when you flip it for women, they're, for your daughters, they're going to be looking at you like, okay, I can go do that. And exactly what you said is exactly why I wanted to create this segment, because we as women, we need to be able to represent that strength behind being able to be moms and entrepreneurs, and not feeling like we just have to sit back and do all the mom stuff. And like you said, the women's work. We don't have to just do laundry and cook and clean and raise babies. We have dreams and passions. And I love that regardless of what your situation is, you're like, I want to go after what I'm passionate about, and not just sit at home and not just do jobs that I'm not that I don't even love, because money is great. We all need it. That's the type of society we live in, but it's so much greater when you're bringing in an income doing something that you love. It's so much greater when you wake up happy to go do whatever it is, whether it be a career or business, whatever it is. And if that passion is behind it, it's like it's a reward money can never amount to.
Yeah. And since we do keep touching around representation with everything going on in the world, like, I just want to put it out there that I know that, like, women of color, people of color, body positivity, I mean, especially people of color, like, as far as representation goes, 2 privileged white women not seeing themselves in a fashion blog is like way, 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 way down the list. Like, I'm not trying to say we have that kind of fight against us. I just want to put that out there, that we know what we are, and we know, like, when people say representation is important. I mean, yes, I do think that we need to be less ageist in this country and in this world in general. But, like, I know that as far as reputation is important, there's a lot bigger things than, like I said, 2 privileged white women who don't see themselves in fashion spaces. So
And while what you said is 100% true, as a woman of color, I definitely feel that there's different levels to what representation is needed. I can also see that there's also different ways that we all connect. And
Yeah,
for one, you and I both being mothers, once I'm into that 40 age group, it doesn't matter,
right.
who it is that's doing it. There's someone doing it that represents some part of who we
Yes.
are. Because just like we talked about all the different roles, people are so complex, and you're always going to be looking for representation in each of those different parts of who you are, whether it be your skin color, your age, your hair type, the way that you think,
Yeah.
whatever it is. You have so many different groups as individuals that you fit into, and that's why I really loved reading about what it is that you were doing before we even met, because I can't even imagine like today going into being 40 and not seeing myself, not
And,
seeing someone like me at that age, and
yeah.
being happy and raising
Yeah.
kids and writing a blog. So,
And
yes.
according to Hollywood, I'm now in my 40s. I am way too old to be the wife of a 65-year-old man.
Exactly. He's supposed to be with like what a 22-year-old, because it's the
Yeah.
midlife crisis, and you're supposed to just raise the kids and be mom.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sorry, I'm still not over it, even though it is an old movie, because this was like maybe in the early 2000s. But there's a movie with Gwyneth Paltrow being married to Michael Douglas. Like, no, no, no.
I didn't know what movie
Yeah.
was that.
It was a remake of an Alfred Hitchcock thing. I would Google it, but yeah, Google it. There is a movie, and that's all it was slammed for, was like Gwyneth Paltrow's 21, he's in his 50s. Like nobody could get past it, because even like men, it was so bad. Like even men back then were like, this is BS. Like,
This isn't realistic at all.
but you do, what's that other movie with like that young actor? I don't know, was married to Jack Nicholson, Amanda something. Like, no, 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 no. Like, look at commercials.
Yeah.
Look at commercials. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, and I'm, going back to the representation thing, like one of my favorite shows is it 911 it's called? I don't know. Angela Bassett has got a starring role as a cop, and she's one of the starring
Yeah, I
people. And
think
I,
it is one of the 911, and it's like all the different
yeah,
emergency people. I haven't watched it, but I've
yeah.
seen like all the media behind it and whatnot. But yeah, that
I watch anything with Angela Bassett in it. I decided when Waiting to Exhale came out that she was the world's absolutely most beautiful. Like to me, she's the epitome of beauty, and that has never changed. And I'm like, "Yeah, she's older than I am, and she's like,
one.
yeah,
Yeah, she's fabulous. My mom has watched so much Angela Bassett. I actually would be shocked if she hasn't even tuned into 911, just because.
because it's Angela Bassett.
Why wouldn't? I mean, I personally haven't watched it just because it's not in the genre of things that I watch. But
Right.
growing up, definitely, she was great to see, and definitely for the representation of just seeing a black woman, a natural black woman at that. That was just like in the forefront all the time. Anytime she was on the screen, you like paid attention. So her, like I would say, for growing up, it was her and Whitney Houston were like those two top for representation and on the big screen. So,
Yep.
but yeah, um, going forward into your business, it's the beginning of 2021. So I really want to know, what are some of the goals that you have specifically for a fashionating life?
Well, going against everything that I've already been talking about, I say that this is the year of conversion. This is the year where I think we really have we're beginning to get the ambassadorships. We're working with brands that we actually believe in and love. It's been fantastic. I didn't know we got reached out to by a company called Better Not Younger, and it's shampoo and hair care for women in their 40s. Because as your hormones change, it does affect your hair. And she was a former VP executive at L'Oreal, and they told her that they didn't see a market for a product for women in their 40s plus. So she left and started her own company. And so we've got, like I said, we've got ambassadors. I'm getting over my like to know it fear. And this is the year I would really like to see a Fashionating Life become a revenue generator for me. I would like to get over my fear of video and expand our outreach that way. And I'm really looking forward, for the first time in quite a few years, having my personal life and my professional life align. When I was in arts nonprofit, that was the last time I really felt that way. I mean, I love the arts. If this was a normal year, we would be going to opera and ballet. Like, that's where my passion lies. And so I was able to really combine my personal and my professional life, because I wanted to go to the opera. I wanted to go to the ballet, and it actually became something that was good for my job. Now with the launch of what we're going to call the subscription services, the edit creative, the launch of creative, and stepping into my role full-time as VP of communications for the edit advisory, I'm looking forward to having my personal life and my passion become one thing. They are separate, but I feel like this is some funky, like, hair club. Do you remember the hair club for men commercials, or are you too young? Like, I'm not only the president, but I'm a client. Like, that's me and the edit advisory. We were able to take, like, the trend reports for spring, summer 21 and winter 21, and it's going to be reflected in a Fashionating Life's content, because I do want to, like, know what the trends are. I do like keeping up with what's Fashion Week is. I'm just at an age where I don't follow them blindly. I go, I like that, I'm going to incorporate that. I'm also at an age where none of this is new, and I probably already own it. I mean, I'm glad the 90s are back. Never got rid of my Doc Martens. So yeah, the fashion is cyclical. So at this age, when new trends come, chances are it's already in my closet, because I've just been there the first time. But they are going to feed each other, and it's going to be a first time in a long time where I feel like there is no separation between who I am professionally and who I am personally. And that, I think, was hard when I was doing very dry corporate technology. I'm not, I think I worked for one legal technology software company. I don't want to help attorneys make it easier to sue individuals. I don't. I thought it was going to be great, because those kinds of companies had, like, before the pandemic, the floating PTO, and as long as the job's getting done and they don't care, and it was going to be paying me a lot more money than I'm used to, that I could invest into the blog. And I would be able to take outfit photos. I mean, I even told, like, my team that that's what I'm doing. And they're like, oh yeah, we'll start taking your pictures at our lunch. We'll help you. And I had the right opportunity there. I could have made my personal life and my professional life blend a lot better, but I've been so bogged down with jobs that don't feed my soul, that it made things that were good in my life just hard to get excited about and want to do them, because I was feeling beat down in one area of my life. And so I just feel like a lot of my goals stem from the fact that I'm going to be able to finally, and for the first time in a while, be able to combine those two halves and really just grow both businesses to the best of my ability. And then let's see. Yeah, those are really my goals. Video, start making revenue, help grow the edit advisory. I would love to I had a goal to reach 5,000 subscribers by the end of the year, but I think hopefully we'll be able to do that. I could say all that, but I really just want to continue to grow the community in an authentic and meaningful way that resonates with people, that does authentically help generate revenue. I'm not going to apologize for that. I'm not going to feel bad for that. I want to make money.
Like we said, money may not
be with me, women. We want to make money. It's okay.
More important, it may not be that driving factor for every single decision, but it is still important. It's still a part of being a business owner. So never apologize about it. I am myself working on not apologizing for it.
Yes.
It's just a part of life. It's a part of the society that we are in. So yes, having a revenue goal is important.
It's important.
For anyone listening, it's important to have it. If you don't have a revenue goal, then
I have a revenue goal, but I will grow that revenue goal in a way that is authentic and that I would buy my own products and, you know, in a way that is meaningful and authentic to us. And with the edit advisory too, I would like to help a few emerging designers, and, you know, I've got numbers, but influencers out there take their career to the next step. Like if you're an influencer out there and you have a few 100,000 followers and you've ever wanted to do a capsule collection, you probably should give it a shot. And if you're intimidated by doing that, we offer a free 30-minute consultation at theeditadvisory.com. So I would really like to help empower a new group of women to take their careers to the next level and help them in the fashion space if they've ever really wanted to become a designer, or a designer that wants to go to the next level. Or I would just like to produce, you know, a small line of sustainable clothing that I think will resonate with my followers. I really want to help give women the tools they need to reach those goals as well through the edit advisory. And then both of us can make money together.
And doing things that you love at the
Right.
same time, because that's just like the perfect package. Making money, doing things that you love. Now, tell me a little bit about the reason why you named the business A Fashionating Life.
Because we're punny. We love a good pun. That was the hardest thing, was coming up with a name.
Yes.
And we figured we just wanted it to be that we are more about fashion. We wanted to come up with a way that was like, we're leading a life that is very full and vibrant. We're moms, we're career moms, we volunteer in our communities. And we happen to love fashion. We like to look good doing it. And we like to, you know, it came to me on a plane ride when I was exhausted, still trying to come up with names. Like, I mean, we had all kinds of names, but we just really wanted something that that encompassed that we lived fashionable lives. I mean, I think that was also too, like when we were playing around with the hook of it all, like 40 something moms whose every facet of life is fashionable. And then the pun of being a fashionating life, being both fascinating and fashionable, just really we both kind of went, oh my gosh, yes, I think that's it. And we have used that pun a lot. We hope to get back to it, but for a while we were highlighting people in our community who were very fashionable people. They were the fashionators, and it's somebody that, you know, leaves a stylish life, whether that's how they give back to their community or if they look good. It just really
You use it as a hashtag.
A fashionator?
No, both of them, a fashionator and a fascinating life.
Yeah, it was fun. We back when we could actually have events, we had events with our first event was with with a founding director of Beauty Counter, that revolutionary clean beauty product. She was the first outside hire from the two founders. Her name is Heather Willison, and she's a 40 something mom of two here in Austin. And that was her third career. And she's like our people. And so we had a Fashionator series event. The launch was with her because she talked about what it took to take the chance with this company Beauty Counter that nobody had ever heard of before, when she had a very successful career. And she's glad that she did. And to me, that's fascinating. It's, you know, I'm sorry.
I love it. Like when I first, I knew I was definitely going to be asking you where that came from, because when I first read it, I was like, that is great. And the bad thing though, is like when I first read it, I got fascinating, which is what
okay.
And I was like, no, obviously you're reading this wrong. And it's like, fashionating, that is genius. Who came up with it?
We think so too. When we're on the phone with somebody trying to spell our email address, no, not fascinate, fashion with ATING at the end. We're like, why did we do this? But I think people, once they get it, they get it.
Exactly. And that's what it was for me. Like once I got it, I was like, that is so good. Like who came up with that? I'm horrible at coming up with puns and names, actually. the balanced mom part of it, my husband actually did. That wasn't me. I would come up with like random stuff and then I just like threw it at him and he helped me with that. I'm not that good with coming up with names, and puns are like
Yeah, that's
my
where the marketing communications
favorite.
person comes in handy with me. I'm good at a play on words. Plus, there was a long time ago, I used to follow a blog, and I don't think she has it anymore, but it was called The Professional.
The
Um,
professional. That's
yeah,
dope.
which I always thought was so cute. And she did a blog. She's like, "How many people do you think find my space because they spell professional wrong?"
That's a good
So they
point.
would find her and follow her along.
Yeah, because I just had someone send me one of those promote me on Instagram DMs, and it was parmote. Like they spelled promote wrong. So obviously it was like you're not promoting me. But
Yeah.
but yeah, like people misspell things all the time. So I'm sure there's been quite a few that have spelled it wrong and ended up on the blog. But
Yeah,
hey,
they're like,
that's traffic.
yeah, they're like, your email keeps bouncing back. I'm like, how did you spell fashionating? Oh, yeah, that's what the mistake is. Speaking of working moms, I don't know if you could see, but my name says Finn Mason.
I
That's my,
saw it earlier, and then after I saw that, it was like it was Finn Mason. Like when you first came in, it was like, oh, you know what? She's probably like just one family Zoom account with somebody else's name. So it was like, I don't think anybody else
yeah.
has this link. So let's see if this is Ellen.
Yes, when he was homeschooled for a while, he was using this computer, and I just never figured out how to like sign him out from, because this used to be how he was learning, and I just never really, once again, not the digital native and the technology part. I'm like, whatever, it's
No
fine.
biggie. You'll be Finn. I think it's gonna show our names like at the beginning, so you'll be
Right.
Finn when
It
whenever
happens.
you first.
I mean, I'm like, yeah, it happens all the time as I'm doing Zoom life for like community things. And I belong to an organization called Remake, which is a sustainable, international sustainable organization that's trying to set standards for both everything from pay to the environment in the fashion industry. And we have a monthly call, and we have to go around. They're like, okay, and do we even have a Finn Mason as one of our ambassadors? I'm like, but you have an Ellen Mason, and they're, everybody laughs.
Hey, it's just me.
Pandemic problems.
Yeah, it's been interesting. Some of the things that I've experienced in Zoom since the pandemic.
How old is your daughter?
She's 3,
Oh, okay.
and
So,
one of the things with Zoom, actually, I just had a Zoom meeting yesterday, and she thinks when she's downstairs that like anytime I'm on the phone that everything is about her. So she just comes over and she's hi. So it's like it's really fun managing that. Typically, like right now, she's napping.
yeah.
Is that
Oh, yeah.
like?
Yay.
So when I'm
I
able to get her like on a nap, and that's also part of why like I have a window for when I can do these interviews with everyone, because it's usually somewhere where I can either slip a nap in or I can get my husband, he's off and he can go take care of her. So like I have to be really really particular about where I schedule things. Otherwise she'll be popping her little head, comes about right here. Just come say hi to everybody.
and I think that's the great thing about the influencer space. It's also kind of been ushered in with everybody working from home. I think everybody has a larger understanding of what other people go through. Like even the dad who never worked at home with a stay-at-home wife who has no idea what it's like to like balance a child at home. Well, if he's home and on his calls or something, stopping the 4-year-old from coming in and being like, daddy, daddy. And like,
Mhm.
I work with a lot of single people at, my corporate job, and they are beginning to like, they're having a hard time. Like I had one say, it's like, I'm having a hard time working at home and balancing my dog. Like, I don't know how you do it, like with a, 8-year-old or 9-year-old in 4th grade last year, needing homework and, whatever. Like, I think a lot of people are beginning to understand a lot of other people's lives more, because we are all getting the behind the scenes look at everybody's life with Zoom. And even like the CEO of the company, like his kid came in major client meetings and interrupted him. His dog came in and interrupted major client meetings. And I think what's good about, I mean, the influencer world started because we were all tired of knowing it was a celebrity paid to shill. It
Exactly.
was something that we were like, I don't know if I necessarily believe you like this. And like, there's some people who believe that the influencer space got ruined once money got involved.
Mhm.
Because before all of that, it was really somebody saying, I honestly like this. And my life is, I mean, my life is messy. Like those,
You can see
the
the
post,
real, the truth behind it all.
it's
It's not
authentic. And
some curtain put up.
yeah. And for those of us who think that, like, oh, she has it figured out, he has it perfect, she can balance it all. Now we see that it's not true for any of us whatsoever. Unless maybe you're like a celebrity who's like the top 2% and you have a staff you can.
Yeah, but then you don't have it together. Other people have it together for you. So, there's always so much going on behind the scenes. And I do love that about what 2020 taught us. There's so many things that happen. Funny story to go with that. At one point, I actually had to do a court Zoom. And there was a lady it was like everyone that would have been in the courtroom was there. And this lady was like mad at her husband for not listening, and she didn't know how to turn Zoom off. So like their whole argument ends up being displayed in the middle of a court session. And it was the funniest thing. I felt bad because she figured out that it wasn't on, and she's trying to get him to calm down so she could turn it off before we hear everything they're talking about. But that is one of the crazy things that COVID did, was it opened us up to the realities that we're all people. We all go through the craziest of things behind the scenes, and those little snippets that we get on social media or that we get on TV, that's not it. There's so many other things going on. There's so many other pieces to that puzzle. So yeah.
My favorite work Zoom story was like when it first came down. And it was a woman from the client who was like their head, like an international head general counsel.
Mhm.
And she never had a hair out of place, never, not an I dotted, a T cross, like completely like just unflappable woman. And here she is working from home, and it's like people from inside her company and people from my company, and we're all on Zoom or whatever. And she gets on and she was like, I'm sorry to do this, but as you know, we're all working from home. Hold on. And she literally like turns her head and just starts yelling at children off site. She's like, I don't know how many times I have to tell you, it's Wednesday. It's Wednesday. It was Thursday. Okay. It's Wednesday. We have to go here. We have to do that. Like just laying into our kids or not being ready or whatever. And like you could see even the people like at her company, like you could tell they were like beginning to text each other going, do you want to, because everybody was a little intimidated by her. Do you want to tell her? I don't want to tell her. Like, and we were doing the same thing as the client. Like, it's Thursday, right? Does she know? Do you want to tell her? No, I don't want to tell her. No, the client's always right. Like whatever. And you could see the eyes of the other people. And so, okay, I'm back. And now let's get started. And like 10 minutes into it, and I finally had a colleague that goes, okay, I'm sorry. I really, please don't hate me, but I have to tell you something. And the lady goes, what? He goes, you were just yelling at your kids. It's Wednesday, but it's Thursday. Oh crap. I'll be right back. Like,
she goes and go tell them.
But if you could have seen all the faces of everybody, like you could see it was like, I don't want to tell her. Do you want to tell her? No, like.
That's kind of how it was when they were arguing. Like you could see the people that were actually on camera were like, do they know we can hear all this? Like, I feel like part of us was like, we kind of want to hear what's going on. And then another part is like, should we tell them? And then she finally realized, and we're like, okay, we're all off the hook now.
Yeah. And I mean, and you don't hate her. You're never going to like not talk to her work. Like to me is like somebody who thinks I make a mistake and my whole community is going to go away. Like here I am partial, like on the other side, watching somebody make a public mistake. And inside my head, I'm going, I have a newfound respect for you. Like I like you on a different level now. Like the unflappable got flapped.
Right. You're human. You're a person now. Like, thank you for that part.
Right, I feel your pain, mama, whereas, so anybody who's afraid that mistakes are gonna like be the death of like your whole business, if, well-intentioned, like you're authentic and you're human and making mistakes is part of it. So,
And to be honest, what I've learned is that if people can't accept who you are on the other side of it, then they may not be that person that you should be working with in the first place, because you never know when those things that are behind the scenes may affect your business, may affect your career. And if someone can't appreciate and understand that, then it's just going to make that whole situation a lot tougher. So I think that it's really important that we have been able to see the insides. I mean, I make phone calls. I'm also a real estate agent. I make phone calls, and I hear people, kids in the background all the time. And honestly, that's more of a benefit now than it is harmful, because now I get to actually get to know them on a personal level. I don't just only get to know them on a professional level. So I think that's one good thing that COVID has brought us, some personality to everything. So I am going to wrap things up for this particular video, only because we are getting together again live the same day that this is publishing. So make sure you guys join us live. Now we're getting live on January 25th at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So that's on my Instagram. But before we go into that, because they can see that at the end of the video, tell everyone where they can meet you, where they can learn more about A Fashionating Life. I know you mentioned it at the very beginning in your introduction, but just in case anyone missed it, go ahead and tell them one more time.
Yes, if you want to follow along on A Fashionating Life, our space for 40 plus women who love fashion and want to see themselves represented, we are on Instagram at A Fashionating Life, FashionAting.
It will come up too. So all of will slide through.
We are on Instagram at A Fashionating Life, at Facebook on A Fashionating Life. Our blog is just www.afashionatinglife.com. We have a newsletter, and anybody who is interested in my day job, who wants to know about fashion trend analysis or starting your own thing in the fashion industry, that is the editadvisory.com, and we are on Instagram, and it's just the.edit.advisory. So either one, but yes, definitely for sure on A Fashionating Life. I would love to see everybody there.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking this time out to dive deeper into A Fashionating Life. You as a woman and an entrepreneur, again, I think that you creating this space as a woman over 40, raising children, creating new businesses, and starting a new job venture at the same time, I think that that is absolutely amazing. Please keep doing great things, and I hope that somebody out there really learned something about just being authentically yourself and going after what you're passionate for. So thanks, Ellen.
Thank you for having me.